Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this lecture 5, which is the penultimate lecture of the Cricket South Africa Level 2 umpiring course hosted by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Abdullah Steenkamp, and as usual, my co-presenter for this evening is Tomo Karosi. We will be covering 3 laws this evening, and I will kick off with laws 37, 38, and 41. I will then hand over to Tom, who we will do another simulation quiz, and after the quiz, we will open the floor for Q&A. So kicking off with the laws, Law 37, it covers obstructing the field, and we're only going to cover 2 subsections of the obstructing the field law. Let's kick off by looking at an animation video.
Obstructing the field. A batsman is out obstructing the field if he or she willfully attempts to obstruct or distract the fielding side by word or action. Like this, for example. Thank you, Tommy. In particular, it is considered to be obstruction if, while the ball is in play and after the striker has played the ball, either batsman willfully strikes the ball with a hand not holding the bat or any other part of his or her person, or with the bat. The exception to this is when the batsman is attempting to defend his or her wicket. The batsman may do this with the bat or any part of his or her person, except with a hand not holding the bat. If the batsman uses such a hand, he or she will be out obstructing the field. The handled the ball law no longer exists, with such incidents now covered by obstructing the field instead. The obstruction has to be willful. Accidental obstruction, or obstruction caused by trying to avoid injury, does not count, and the decision on that is down to the umpire. It's worth noting that if a catch is obstructed, it is the striker who is out, even if it was the non-striker who caused the obstruction. Mind you, it's not always an easy decision. Here, the batsman deliberately crosses out of the legal running area in order to attempt to obstruct a throw. There is no other reason why the batsman should be running across the pitch. What looked an accident was, in fact, an illegal incident. To avoid any possible confusion, read Law 37 in black and white in the Blue Book.
So how can you be the obstruction of a ball from being caught? So if the delivery is not a no ball, the striker, and the emphasis on the striker, will be out if willful obstruction or distraction by either batter prevents a catch from being taken. So emphasis on striker, and if either batter, whether it's the non-striker, and if the non-striker prevents a catch from being taken, the striker will be out. I'll use an example to illustrate point number 1. Bowler bowls a short delivery. The striker pulls, gets a top edge. Ball goes into the air close to the bowler. The bowler settles under the ball to take the catch. The non-striker then willfully bumps into the bowler, preventing the bowler from taking the catch. There will be an appeal. You, the umpire, needs to give the striker out obstructing the field, even though in this scenario it was the non-striker that prevented the catch from being taken. But the law tells us the striker needs to be given out, and the obstruction, or it can be distraction, needs to be willful. So if it's not a no ball, striker to be given out obstructing the field. Point number 1 will also apply if the obstruction is caused by the striker in lawfully guarding his or her wicket. An example to illustrate point number 2, it's not a no ball. The striker attempts a sweep, get a top edge, the ball then balloons up from the glove, balloons up, straight up. As the ball is coming down, it looks like the ball is going to go onto the wicket. But just visualize this. It's a spinner bowling, so the keeper standing up to the stumps. So striker swept. It's the glove. Ball balloons up. The ball is now going to go onto the wicket. Striker then tries to hit the ball away to guard the wicket. But at the same time, the keeper was trying to catch the ball. The law tells us that this is not allowed. The striker is not allowed to prevent the catch from being taken. And because of this, yes, the striker is trying to guard his or her wicket, but the striker cannot prevent a catch from being taken. And if the striker prevents a catch from being taken, on appeal, striker to be given out, obstructing the field. So the first 2 points that I've covered was when the ball was not a no ball. So in point 1, just to recap, striker to be given out if the prevention is for a catch being taken, even if the non-striker did the obstruction. And point 2, striker is not allowed to obstruct any fielder from taking a catch, even if the striker tries to lawfully guard his or her wicket. Not allowed. You cannot prevent a catch from being taken. On appeal, given out obstructing the field. Point 3 is now a no ball gets bowled. So now the law guides us by telling us if an obstruction or a distraction takes place from a no ball. Now the law tells us because of the no ball, it is now the batter that caused the obstruction or distraction to be given out obstructing the field. I'll use the same example that I used in point number 1. Just the only difference is point number 1 was a fair delivery. The example that I use. The example that I'm going to use in point 3 is same example, but now it's a no ball. Let's say the bowler bowls a front foot no ball. So fast bowler delivers front foot no ball, bowlers in umpire calls and signal no ball. Short ball, bowler, a batter, striker pulls, get a top edge. Ball is now in the air, batter bowler settles under it, striker, non-striker bumps into the bowler willfully, prevents the bowler from taking the catch. But because of the no ball, the law tells us now is that the batter causing the obstruction, i.e. in this example it was a non-striker that caused the obstruction, now the non-striker to be given out because the non-striker caused the obstruction from the bowler taking the catch. However, striker is not out if the obstruction of a catch occurs while defending his or her wicket off a no ball. So now in point number 2, I mentioned if it's not a no ball, striker is not allowed to prevent a catch from being taken. But point 3 tells us if it is a no ball, the law then allows the striker to protect the wicket, even though the keeper was settling under the ball to take it. But because of a no ball, we now know you cannot be dismissed of a no ball, caught of a no ball. So the striker is now allowed by the laws to protect that wicket. In terms of runs scored when either batter is dismissed obstructing the field, I'll start with point number 2. If the obstruction or distraction prevents the striker from being outcaught, no runs to be scored. Any penalties awarded to either side to stand, but if the obstruction and prevention prevents the striker from being caught, no runs to be scored. Point 1, unless the obstruction or distraction for being a striker being outcaught, and I've just mentioned it in point 2, no runs to be scored. Any runs completed by the batters before the offence to be scored. So if either batter is dismissed obstructing the field, this is now other than a catch. Any runs completed by the batters before the offence to be scored, including any 1-run penalty for wide or no ball, or any other award of 5 penalty runs to either side. This is all that we're covering under the obstructing the field law. Under the run-out law, there are also only 2 subsections that I'm covering. The first subsection is how either batter can be out run out. That's the first subsection. The second subsection that I'll cover is when either batter will be not out run out. But let's first start with how either batter can be out run out. So while the ball is still in play, ball is still alive, either batter can be run out if that batter is out of his or her ground. No part of the person or bat grounded behind the popping crease while the ball is still alive. Either batter, either side. And then the wicket is fairly put down by the action of a fielder. Even if a no ball was called, batter can still be run out, because we know there are 3 ways to be dismissed of a no ball, and one of them is run out. And then whether a run is attempted or not, that's irrelevant when it comes to being out run out. The law is clear. Either batter, they need to be in their ground. They need to have some part of the bat or person grounded behind the popping crease at either end while the ball is still alive. And if the wicket is fairly put down by a fielder, even if no ball was called, either batter can be out run out. So now we know we've covered the criteria how a batter can be out run out. Ball needs to be alive. Either batter needs to be behind the popping crease at either end. And if the wicket is fairly put down and they're not behind or they're not inside the ground, they can be out run out. So now we've covered how either batter can be out run out. Let's see what the laws say when a batter is not run out. Okay, batter is not run out. Firstly, if that batter's been within his or her ground and then subsequently left it to avoid injury when the wicket is put down. So point 1, batter made good their ground, and after making their ground, they only left it to avoid injury. Then the wicket is put down. In this instance, batter will be not out run out. I'll use an example to illustrate point number 1. I want you to visualize. Bowler delivers the ball, striker hits it down to fine leg, and they batters then jog through for a single. Fine leg picks up the ball and throws the ball into the keeper from the boundary. It was a tall bowler standing on the boundary, and a bullet throw came in from the fine leg boundary. So now the non-striker made good their ground. So visualize, they did jog through for a single. The non-striker got behind the popping crease at the wicket keeper's end. So non-striker made good their ground. So now this bullet throw came in from the fine leg boundary to the keeper. The non-striker sees this, seeing the ball coming straight at his or her head, now gives way to avoid ball hitting him or her. So now to avoid injury, the non-striker now, because backing away to not let the ball hit him or her, the non-striker now left the crease.
So now the non-striker's got nothing behind the popping crease. No part of the bat, no person behind the popping crease. Now the keeper sees this and take off the bells and appeal. So you the strikers in umpire, how are you going to answer this appeal? You're going to say, not out. The keeper's going to ask, why not out? He was not behind the popping crease when I took off the bells. Your answer is going to be the reason why the non-striker is not out is because the non-striker made good their ground. Only left it, and the reason why they left the ground was to avoid injury, was to avoid being hit by the ball. And because of that, the law gives that non-striker immunity, not being run out. But it needs to be, and in your opinion, the criteria is to apply this law. The non-striker firstly needed to have made good the ground. That's the first criteria that needs to be in place. And after making good the ground, they only left it to avoid injury. So those are the two criteria that needs to in place to get this immunity. If both criteria is not there, batter cannot get immunity from being run out. So just to recap, two conditions. The batter must have made the ground. That's the first condition that needs to be in place to get this immunity. And the second one is they only left it to avoid injury. If both conditions applies in your scenario that you just looked at, your answer should then be to the fielding side that appealed not out. And my reason is batter made good the ground. They only left it to avoid injury. They get protected by the law. They get immunity from being run out. Second instance, where batter is not run out. The ball has not, after the striker hit the ball has not been touched by any of the fielders when the wicket was put down. The definition of fielders is any of the 11 fielders. Bowler is also falls under the definition of a fielder. So does the wicketkeeper, also falls under the definition of the fielder. So what the law is saying is, for a batter to be run out, there must be an intervention of one of the fielders. One of the fielders must touch the ball, and then the ball goes in against the wicket, and with either batter short of the ground, then you can consider the run out or give it out run out. But if there's been no touch by any of the 11 fielders and the ball goes against the wicket, even if the non-striker is not behind the popping crease, your answer to that appeal will be not out. I'll give you two examples to illustrate this. Bowler delivers the ball, so visualize this. Bowler delivers, ball gets hit straight back down the pitch. So it's a straight drive, straight back down the pitch. Bowler puts out a hand to try to stop the ball. Bowler does not make contact with the ball, and the ball goes against the stumps, and the non-striker is half a meter outside the crease. And there's an appeal. Your answer to that appeal will be not out. And your reason is there was no intervention, or none of the fielders, in this case the bowler, touched the ball when the wicket was put down. So that's why this is not out. Even though the non-striker was half a meter outside the popping crease, but the law wants there to be an intervention by one of the 11 fielders. If no one touched the ball, not out, run out. Another example. Bowler delivers the ball. Again, a straight drive, but this straight drive is more towards mid-on. So the ball straight down the wicket, slightly towards mid-on, but now the ball goes against the foot of the non-striker, the non-striker's foot. So just visualize this. Ball gets hit down the ground. It hits the non-striker's foot. Non-striker tried to give away, but the ball was hit so hard, and it hits the non-striker's foot. From the non-striker's foot, it ricochets onto the stumps, and the non-striker is a meter outside the ground, outside his ground, a meter outside the ground. The fielding side will appeal. Promise you, I played the game at club level, didn't know the laws. I was one of those back in the day that appealed for things like this. What will your answer to the appeal be as the umpire? Your answer is going to be not out. The fielding side is going to argue, yeah, but the ball went against the stumps. The non-striker was a meter short. How can that be not out? Your answer is going to be, there needs to be an intervention by one of the fielders, one of the 11 fielders. One of them needs to touch the ball and then goes onto the stumps, and then with the batter short of his or her ground, now I can consider the run out or give it out. But in this case, who touched the ball? It was the non-striker. It ricocheted from the non-striker's foot onto the stumps. There was no intervention by any of the 11 fielders. No one touched the ball. And because of this, your answer to this appeal will be not out. Another instance where the batter will also be not out, run out. And let's just go through the theory, and I'm going to use an example to illustrate what the law is trying to tell us. So the striker is not out, run out if he or she is out stumped and a no ball has been called. And the striker is out of his or her ground, not attempting a run, and the wicket is fairly put down by the wicketkeeper without the intervention of another fielder. I'll use an example to illustrate what the theory is trying to tell us. So this is now the third instance when a batter will be not out, run out. So let's go through the example to illustrate this third point when a batter will be not out, run out. Visualize. Spinner bowling, keeper standing up. Spinner delivers the ball, but there's no part of the front foot behind the back edge of the popping crease. So the bowler's in umpire calls no ball for front foot. Calls no ball. It's a nice loopy ball as it goes towards the striker. Striker triple steps, misses the ball. Keeper gathers the ball and take off the bails. So again, no ball, front foot no ball. The spinner delivers, batter advances down the pitch, misses the ball, keeper takes it and take off the bails. Keeper appeals. Strikers in umpire, what is your answer going to be? Firstly, you're going to say not out for the stumping. Why? Even though the striker was outside the crease, didn't have any part of the bat or person grounded behind the popping crease when the wicket was put down, but your answer to the stumping appeal will be not out, because you cannot be stumped off a no ball. There's only 3 ways to be dismissed of the no ball. Stumping is not one of them. So now you say not out, cannot be stumped off a no ball. Now the keeper tells you, yeah, but what about run out? Because the batter was outside his ground, and yes, you can be run out of a no ball. Your answer to that question is, the law gives the striker immunity from being run out in this instance. What is this instance? When a no ball was bowled and the striker was outside his or her ground, not attempting a run, and that's another crucial part, not attempting a run, and then the wicket was fairly put down by the keeper without the intervention of another fielder. So this is another instance where the batter gets immunity from being run out. But there's conditions that needs to be met for this third example of a batter not being run out. What are those conditions? No ball needs to be bowled. Striker was then outside the ground, not attempting a run, and the wicket was then fairly put down by the keeper. If this is the case, the striker gets immunity from being run out. So this is the third instance where batter will not be run out. The last law that I'm covering this evening, and I'm only covering two subsections of Law 41, which covers unfair play. What are those subsections? The first subsection is the match ball and changing its condition, and we're just going to focus on what the fielding side is actually allowed to do with the ball. That's the only subsection under this that we're going to focus on. So when it comes to the match ball, the law allows the umpires to make frequent, regular inspections whenever you want to. The law gives you that power to ask the fielding side to look at that ball at any given time. The law tells us it's an offense for any player to take any action that will change the condition of the ball. Doesn't have to be scratching it or any action. The law tells us any action is not allowed if the side is trying to change the condition of the ball. But there are certain things that the law allows the fielding side to do with the ball. What are those? There are three things that a fielder is allowed to do with the ball. What are those three things? Firstly, fielder is allowed to polish the ball on their clothing, but they're not allowed to use any artificial substance. They're not allowed to use sunscreen. They're not allowed to use sweets. No artificial substance to be used. So yes, you can polish the ball, but you're not allowed to use artificial substance. The only thing that the law allows you to use is sweat. That is the only substance. And yes, sweat is a natural substance. But according to the law, the only thing that you can use to put on the ball is sweat. So if the fielding side takes a bit of sweat, put it on the ball, and then polish the ball on their clothing, the law allows for that. Absolutely no issue. So that's the first thing that the law allows. It allows polishing, and it allows you to only put on sweat on the ball. Can you put saliva on the ball? No. The law does not allow for saliva to be put on the ball. The only substance to be used is sweat, nothing else. So polishing is the first thing, and you're allowed to put sweat, a little bit of sweat on it, and then polish the ball on your clothing. Absolutely no issue. The law allows for that. Secondly, the law allows for mud to be removed from the ball, but if any of the fielding side is going to remove the mud, they need to do it under the supervision of the umpire. Usually what the fielding side will do, if there is a bit of mud on the ball, they'll come to the umpire and they'll say, umpire, there is some mud on the ball. Do you mind if I remove the mud? No issue. You will then observe as the player removes the mud. Absolutely no issue. Player can remove the mud, but they need to do it under your supervision. And then lastly, what a fielder is allowed to do with the ball according to the law is, if the ball is wet, the fielding side is allowed to dry the wet ball on a piece of cloth. But the law goes on further and tell us, umpires, these cloths that the fielding side are using, you need to approve them. You need to watch the type of cloth that they use. You need to watch the players. They sometimes are sneaky and try to use a cloth that's very abrasive, and rubbing it they'll try to rough up one of the sides. So that's why the law tell us, yes, we'll allow a piece of cloth. We'll allow the wet ball to be dried on this piece of cloth, but please, umpires, you need to approve those cloths. So these are the three things according to the law that the fielders are allowed to do with the ball. So this is the only subsection under the match ball that we are covering. The last subsection under Law 41 that we're covering is the deliberate distraction, deception, or the obstruction of either batter after the ball was delivered. So this is the ball's now was delivered. Now there's an action by any member of the fielding side to either try to distract, to deceive, or obstruct either of the batter. There's certain criteria or conditions that's in place for you to apply this law. What are those? The first thing is it needs to be a willful attempt or a deliberate attempt by any of the fielders. And this willful or deliberate attempt can either be by word or action. And this willful attempt by word or action was trying to distract, obstruct, or deceive either of the batter after the striker has received the ball. So the criteria that you need to take into account, it needs to be deliberate. It needs to be willful. And this willful attempt can be by word or action. I'll give you one or two examples to show you. Can be by word or it can be by action. And this willful attempt was to distract, to obstruct, or to deceive either batter after the striker has delivered the ball. And if this is the case, there is a punishment that needs to be given to the fielding side. We'll get to the punishment. Let's just go through one or two examples. I want you to visualize the following. The striker hits the ball to mid-wicket, to the mid-wicket boundary. The batter takes a single. They turn for the second. As they turn for the second, the bowler deliberately, willfully put out a foot and trip the striker. Striker then falls flat on his or her face. The ball then gets thrown to the wicketkeeper's end to take off the bails. We'll get to now the procedure that you need to follow. But what I want to make clear is, and in this scenario, it was a deliberate, willful attempt by the bowler to trip the striker. So this is a willful attempt by action to obstruct the batter. What action do you take? Let's see. You call and signal dead ball. Neither batter to be dismissed from that delivery. So in my example, striker lying flat on his or her face, ball getting thrown into the keeper, keeper taking off the bails. Not out. Neither batter to be dismissed from this delivery. 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Ball not to count as 1 for the over. There's more punishment. Any runs completed before the offence to be scored, including any penalty runs. Additionally, more punishment. The run in progress, whether the batter has crossed or not, also to be scored. This is the only place in the law where it's irrelevant whether the batter's crossed or not for that run to count. If they crossed or not, that run to count. Batters at the wicket, they decide who to face the next delivery. And you need to inform everyone and report the incident to the governing body. So now you can see it is a stiff penalty. Not stiff, I think a fair penalty. Because this is definitely unfair play. In my example, it was a deliberate, willful attempt and the action of the bowler was to obstruct the batter from getting to the other end. You need to intervene because of this willful, unfair play. And what is the punishment? Calling and signaling dead ball. Neither batter to be dismissed from that delivery. So in my example, that run out will not count. 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Ball not to count. That ball needs to be rebowled. Runs completed also to count, including the run in progress, irrelevant whether they cross or not. The law allows for the batters at the wicket to choose who to face the next delivery. And you'll inform everyone, and this will be reported to the governing body of cricket for that particular competition, who will take the necessary action. So the example that I've covered was a willful attempt to obstruct. Not always the case. The law tells us it can be an action, like in my case, it was an action to distract, to put out the foot, to obstruct the batter. Doesn't necessarily have to be action. It can be word as well. It can be a word. An example of this is batter hits the ball into the to mid wicket. They run a single. They're now contemplating taking the second. The bowler calls, yes, yes, yes for the second. Yes, take the second, take the second. The non-striker thinks it's his or her partner that's calling for the second and starts to run. Meanwhile, it was not the striker that called for the second. It was the bowler. And now the ball gets thrown into the keeper who takes off the bells. This is a willful attempt by the bowler to distract, to deceive these batters. You need to intervene. And how do you intervene? By these 6 bullet points. But there's a bit of fieldcraft. It needs to be a deliberate or willful attempt by word or action. Good umpiring technique is on this. Go chat to your partner. It's always good to discuss this. Ask your partner, what did you see? Get his or her viewpoint. And if it was a willful attempt by word or action to either distract, obstruct, or deceive, apply the punishment. Tom, thank you so much. That is all I'm covering this evening. I'm now handing back to you to do the simulation quiz. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Abdullah, and good day to the candidates. Before I go into our run-out quiz for today, we are going to go through 3 quiz questions first. So remember, we are doing 2 things in this course. We are trying to get you ready for the Cricket South Africa Level 2 umpiring exam, and we're also giving you some field craft for you to use when you eventually get onto the field, if you have not yet done so. And for those of you who have already started active umpiring, I hope this also helps to improve your field craft during matches. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start with a obstructing the field appeal. The bowler is Mark Wood, and the striker is Matthew Wade from Australia. And there's going to be a bit of fun, and you're going to have to answer. This is quiz question, let's make it 37, seeing that obstructing the field is law 37. So I'm going to play the clip, and once it's done, I'm going to ask you all to put in out obstructing the field or not out obstructing the field. Here's the first quiz question for the evening. Q37.
Oh, there's bat in the helmet. Yeah. Pitch on the bed. You saying that the umpire's third umpire. Oh. So the third umpire can possibly make a ruling without the field? That's a good question. Not looking like he's focusing totally on just getting back there, does it? I can't say I know what Matt Wade was thinking, but when that arm went out there,
I think originally he was a bit disorientated, wasn't sure where the ball was. He's playing a bit of AFL.
So you've seen enough angles of that one. I'm not going to play it again. Please type your answer into the chat box. Q37 out or Q37 not out. We will get to the answers for the quiz questions after our run-out simulation quiz. Next quiz question is a run-out quiz question. And when making your decision, remember everything that Abdullah has just taken us through in terms of out, run out, and also in terms of not out, run out. I will, when we're playing it for the second time, talk you through it because the visuals, the camera work wasn't too amazing on this particular video, but it is a very good example for us to use.
Again, there he is walking down the pitch.
Lack of pace off the pitch has made sure it's quite possible. The on-field umpire has gone upstairs to check
TV
run out.
We have a referral for run out.
Utkarsh Pipes, our umpire partners.
Be the best side on this.
To be a bit of conversation going on between.
I can find no part of the bat or person of the batter behind the line. When the wicket is put down, I'm ready with my decision for the big screen.
This is where the spirit of cricket will come into play. Unfortunately, Abhishek Bora was well behind the crease, and the wicketkeeper did not see him where, pushed him across.
Right, so what I'll do is I will play it from the replay.
No part of the bat.
And I will talk you through it. So the batter completed the single, and we will see it a couple of seconds later. The batter's in his crease. You can see that the throw comes in from fine leg or third man, and the wicketkeeper goes backwards, and the throw hits the stumps with batter out of his crease. You need to decide if the batter is out, run out, or the batter is not out, run out, based on the lesson Abdullah has just given us on runouts. Please type into the chat box Q38 out or Q38 not out. Last quiz question for the evening is either a stumping or a piece of deception by the wicketkeeper. And Abdullah has just told us what the punishment is for deliberate deception of a batter by a member of the fielding side. Quite harsh punishment. Does this wicketkeeper deserve a clever stumping, or does he deserve punishment for deceiving the striker? Let's watch the video, and this one will be Q41 out or Q41 5 penalty runs. I'll play it again without the sound, and I'll talk you through it. Bowler bowls a ball that goes down leg. Wicketkeeper collects it, turns around, pretends that he has missed the ball and that the ball has gone behind him. And when he hears the striker leaving his crease, then he quickly takes the bails off, appeals for a stumping, and from the celebrations, you can gather that the strikers and umpire has given the striker out. So my question to you is, are you going to give the striker out stumped, or are you going to call and signal dead ball, award 5 penalty runs to the batting side? The striker started a run, so even though they didn't cross, that run will count. The two batters will decide who faces the next delivery. The delivery does not count as a legal delivery in the over and needs to be rebowled. We need to inform and report the incident to the governing body. So Q41 out, or Q41 5 penalty runs. Right, that takes us now to our run-out quiz for this evening. And narration first from the England and Cricket Wales board. Sorry, the England and Wales Cricket Board. Continual CPD, continued professional development. This is their refresher at the beginning of each season. And we're going to watch a little bit of the training video, and then it's going to lead us into a run-out quiz. Abdullah will do the first 2 demonstration run-outs, and then the rest of you will have to, on your own, answer with your hands up whether the batter is out, run out. And also you need to tell us what screen the batter was at when the wicket was fairly put down. It will all make sense once we watch the demo that Abdullah will do for us. Let's watch the training first, and then we'll get to the run-out quiz.
Hi, I'm Duncan Mascarenas, sports officiating performance psychologist. How accurate are you at calling run-out decisions? Most of us are not afforded the luxury of the third umpire to review our run-out decisions, and often things happen very quickly, so it's crucial that we have good perceptual judgment skills in these situations. If we continually get these decisions wrong, then we will begin to lose our credibility with the players. Let's assume we're all well prepared for the game, we have completed our pre-delivery routines and are suitably focused on the important information. Video tutorials are also available on these topics should you feel the need to work on them. We've developed a set of video clips to test your accuracy in calling close run-out decisions. What follows are 2 practice clips and 18 real-time video clips of typical run-out situations. Your goal is to watch each clip, note down your decision, and then for each clip, choose one of the 10 freeze frames which you think best represents the batsman's position when the bails were broken. To ensure that the test is as realistic as possible, it's really important that you watch each clip only once. Let's have a go at the practice clip to get you used to the process. You'll need a pen and paper to make a note of your decisions, and then we'll look at how you did at the end. Have a look at the clip and decide whether the batsman's in or out.
Abdullah, are you ready to take the first one?
Yes, Tom, ready.
Great. And you can wait until I pause it after the frames come up and you tell me in or out and which frame best represents where the striker was or where the batter was when the wicket is fairly put down. Okay,
Copy.
Abdullah, here you go. Only showing it to you once.
In slow motion,
Remember,
please,
it
Tom,
will
slow
all
motion.
happen very quickly, just like in a game situation. Right, now having made your decision, write it down and also write down the image that best represents where the batsman was.
Right, Abdullah, in or out? is the first question you need to answer.
Out, Tom. And pick number 4. That's where I think the bat was when the wicket was put down. So my decision out, pick number 4.
Okay, so do we all see how Abdullah got to that? Abdullah reckons when the wicket was fairly put down, the batter was short of the popping crease. And how short was he of the popping crease? So the closest to being in is pick number 5, but that's about, let's say, 5 centimeters out. And then pick number 4 is about 10 centimeters out. And then pick number 3 is about 30 centimeters out. And then pick number 2 is about 50 centimeters out. And pick number 1 is about 75 centimeters outside of his ground. Obviously, picks number 6 to 10, the batter is in, and they range from just in on pick number 6 to about 75 centimeters in on pick number 10. So Abdullah's going to do one more for us. And after that, we're going to have 18 live simulations. And what we're going to do is we're going to change it a little bit from yesterday. All of you who want to engage in this activity, you can, as the first run out is happening, you can all put your hands up and Abdullah will choose from the top all the way through to number 18 for all of the clips. And you don't have to worry to put your hand down when you're done with your run out decision. Abdullah will lower your hand for you once you have done one run out decision. So I'm going to give Abdullah one more test run, and it's for all of you as well to get your eye in. And then we're going to ask for hands before we start the 18 for the candidates. Abdullah, are you ready for the next one?
Yes, Tom.
Let's go.
Right, let's have another practice. And now indicate where the batsman was when the bails were broken.
Can I ask for a replay, please? That was too quick.
Only the TV umpire has the luxury of replays, Abdullah.
Okay, I'm sending this up. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go out as well. It looks a bit closer. I'm gonna go 5. Picture 5.
Okay. So Abdullah, you've gone picture 5 for this one, and you've gone picture 4 for the previous one. We will go through all the answers after all the candidates have gone with the 18 live scenarios. So if you would like to join, and also please note that not all of our internet connections are great. So if you are experiencing lag, or if you are having pictures that freeze frame instead of being a smooth travel into the crease, rather not to engage in this activity, because that poor internet connection is going to deprive you from getting a correct decision. So only those who have seen a smooth run in and sliding of the bat by the batter should raise their hand to engage in this particular event. I will pause it after each run out attempt, and Abdullah will then give an opportunity for everyone to give their answers one by one. Before we start that, I'm going to activate everybody's microphones and videos, but please remember to keep your microphone on mute so that we don't have any disturbances. And once we have gone through all the clips, then they're going to give us the answers. So what you want to do is you want to, when you are answering your own, when you are answering one of the recorded run-out attempts, please write down what number it is that you are participating in. So that way you can, when they give the answer, you can remember, oh yes, number 7 was my run out that I gave an answer for, and you will then know if you are correct or not. So I'm allowing microphones and cameras for all attendees, and of course the hands are good to go. So Abdullah, I'm going to play the first one, and the candidates can already raise their hands if they've got good enough internet connection to see the run being completed or the run out being affected. Here we go.
You should now see how the test works. So we have 18 clips to judge in the same way. Clip 1. Make a note of your answer. And where was the batsman?
Abdullah, I see a hand up there.
Yes, Tom, all the way from New York. Mohammed Sakur, quickest on the draw. Out or not out, Mohammed? And which frame? Which number?
Not out. Frame number 6.
Not out, frame number 6. Mohammed, write that down. It is the first run out attempt, and you've said not out, and you've said frame number 6. The answers will come at the end. You need to mark your own work later. And of course, if you want to carry on with all the questions, not just the one that you are answering live, you are welcome to write your answers down on your own and mark yourself after the quiz. Thanks very much, Mohammed. We'll see later on if you've got your decision correct or not. Straight into clip number 2.
Clip 2.
New hands, please.
Make a note of your answer. And where was the batsman?
Sharon? Yeah, Sharon, can you unmute your microphone? Give us the answer, out or not out, and which frame, which number?
My answer is not out. I go with number 6, frame number 6.
Thank you very much, Sharon. So run out attempt number 2, answer not out, and frame number 6. Please write that down, Sharon, so that you can mark your attempt later. I do agree with you. I think it was not out. Very difficult to judge exactly where it was, but number 6 is not a bad guess. Next one.
Clip 3. Make a note of your answer. And where was the batsman?
Fizele, you're number 1. Can you unmute your microphone, out or not out, and which frame, please? Fizele Felix, unmute your mic. Yeah,
Unmute
there you. Yeah, you unmuted. Out or not out? Which frame?
It looks like it's not out and it's just on the crease, which is I think frame number 6.
Okay, so we've got a hat trick of frame number 6s, I think, there, Abdullah.
Okay.
All very close. I think we all would have asked for a replay on those first 3. Thanks, Vedile. Not easy. Great that everyone is putting their hands up to try this. Okay, let's move to the next one.
Four. Make a note of your answer. And where was the batsman?
New
Pandili.
hands.
Yeah, there's lots of hands. Pandili is number 1 in the queue. Out or not out, Pandili?
Not out frame 9.
Frame 9, not out. It did look more comfortable than the previous 3. I think frame 9 is a pretty good judgment call. Thanks, Pandile. On to the next one. Please all remember to write down your answer and remember that it was question number 4 and the answer that you gave so that you can mark yourself afterwards.
At 5.
Out.
Make a note of your answer.
Out.
And where was the batsman?
I'm hearing a fan shouting from the side there, Abdullah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure who the fan was, but Suranga, your name is number 1 in the queue. Suranga, unmute your mic, out or not out, and which frame, please, Suranga?
It's out. Frame number frame number 3.
That's exactly what I thought, Suranga. Maybe we're right, maybe we're not. We'll see later. Thank you. On to the next one.
At 6.
Come on, waiting for new hands. Nagendra, can you unmute your microphone, please, and give us the answer? Nagendra, out or not out?
Not out, sir. And frame number 8.
Not out, frame number 8. Oof, I thought it was a lot tighter than that, Nagendra. But yeah, we'll see at the end if you got the decision correct or not. And if you did get the correct decision, did you get the right frame? Thank you very much, Nagendra. On to the next one.
Okay.
7.
Not out.
Ian Fraser, can you unmute your microphone, please? Out or not out, which frame?
Not out.
Not out. Frame 10.
Frame 7, Ian?
10.
10, okay.
Yeah.
Well, easy decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done if you got it right. We'll find out at the end. Thank you. Let's move on.
At 8.
I must say this fielder is very good, Abdullah. He hits the stumps every time.
Bradley Krotz, can you unmute your mic? Give us the answer, please.
I would say not out, frame number 8.
Not out, frame number 8. Thank you, Bradley. They are all very tight, in my opinion. Well done. If you got that right, we'll find out at the end. Next.
Okay, halfway through the test. Click 9.
Umesh, quickest on the draw. Out or not out, which frame, please?
Out.
Not out, number 9.
Not out, number 9. Thank you, Umesh. I'm hearing that rowdy fan, Abdullah. If we can please ask all the candidates to mute their microphones and only the candidate who is prompted by Abdullah to unmute his or her microphone to give the answer. Thank you. On to the next one.
Click 10.
Salahuddin, out or not out, which frame?
Good evening, everyone. I'll say not out. Frame 8.
Not out, frame 8. Thank you, Salahuddin. I also thought it was not out. Maybe a little bit tighter than that. Who knows? We'll see a little bit later. Thank you. Next one.
Clip 11.
Seven.
Tom, I'm waiting for new hands. I see 2 old hands. Just give me 10 more seconds. Yeah, I do see a new hand. Oh, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Hlakanipo.
Yeah, you're
Pele.
correct. It's Nhlakanipo is. So
Out or
it's
not out, which frame?
out, frame 4.
Out, frame 4. Tough one, that Nhlakanipo. Probably just out. I would go with you there. Well done. Let's see later if you got it spot on with frame 4. Next one.
Clip 12.
Hitesh Patel, please unmute your microphone. Out or not out, which frame?
It's out, frame number 4.
Hitesh says out, frame number 4. Hitesh, for me, there's too much happening now. I'm losing it. Well done. We'll find out at the end if you got that right. Over to the next one. Please, if everybody can mute their microphones and unmute when prompted by Abdullah. Thank you.
Clip 13.
Okay, no new hands, Tom. Just give me 10 seconds. Give me 5 more seconds, please. Just waiting for a new hand.
I think we do need some new umpires with fresh young eyes.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, Tom, there are no new hands. I'm going to go to number 1 in the queue, which is Bandile.
Not out 8.
Thanks, Pandile. Not out frame number 8. We'll see at the end if you've got that right. Thank you. Next one.
At 14.
They're not getting any easier, Abdullah.
Yeah, they're definitely not getting any easier. My face is literally in my laptop at the moment. They are tight. I'm looking for a new name. I saw a new name, Kia. I saw that new name, Kia. Can you unmute your microphone and give us the answer?
Okay, I think it was out frame number 3.
Out frame number 3. Gabello, I agree it was out. Was it that far out? I'm not sure. My eyes are getting old. We'll see in a bit. Thanks, Gabello. Let's move on.
At 15.
Tom, just give me 10 seconds. I'm waiting for a new hand. Five more seconds. I don't see a new hand, Tom.
If I'm not mistaken, I saw about 44 candidates while you were presenting, Abdullah. Have they all ran away?
I don't know.
from
There's
the
currently
runout?
51 live, so yeah.
Okay.
There are no new hands, Tom. Quickest on the draw is Ian Fraser. Ian, please unmute your microphone.
Not out, number 7.
Not out, says Ian. Frame number 7. We'll see later on if you got that right, Ian. Thank you. Next.
At 16.
I think that's the first comfortable one for a while, Abdullah, if
Yeah.
my eyes are not fooling me.
Sanju, that's a new name. Can you unmute your microphone, please, and give us the answer? Sanju?
Not out frame 9.
Not out frame 9. I tend to agree with you there, Sanju. Well done. Good to be back in form, I hope. I feel. Thank you. Let's move on to the second last run out attempt.
So Conrad, this is for you. I saw your hand raised. Conrad, this is for you. If you can unmute your microphone, please.
At 17.
Conrad?
So the only video that was flowing was the previous one, and it wasn't this one.
Okay. Okay, Basil. Can you unmute your microphone? Out or not out? Which frame, please?
It's out a bit tight, frame number 5.
Basil out, frame number 5. I think there should have been a lot more frame number 5s given out, Basil. I tend to agree with you there. Thank you. Let's see who takes the last run out attempt of the session.
And the last clip, clip 18.
Yeah, let's give Conrad the opportunity. I think he saw this video, Conrad. Give us the answer, please.
I would say that is out, frame 3.
I also agree without Conrad. Yeah, frame 3 is not a bad shot. Well done, and thank you so much to all of you. I know that wasn't easy. I've done this quiz about 8 times now, and it doesn't get easier. In fact, it feels like it gets more difficult every time because I'm aging every time I do it. But the point that it does prove is that with the speed at which the ball hits the stumps and the speed at which the batter is running, these decisions are not easy, even if it's a direct hit. I do find that direct hits are easier to judge than when a wicketkeeper or a bowler collects the ball and then still breaks the stumps, because now you're almost having to watch 2 different things. Just a little tip on my side. People often ask, what do I watch for? Do I watch the line? Do I watch the bat? Do I watch the stumps being broken? Do I watch the ball? The only stationary object in the picture is the popping crease. And it is the popping crease that we need to judge whether the bat has been grounded beyond the popping crease or the foot if the bat is in the air. Has the bat or person been grounded beyond the popping crease before the wicket was fairly put down? So what I try and do is I focus on the popping crease, and I will see the rest of the action with my peripheral vision. And sometimes also I use the sound of the ball hitting the stumps as my judgment call. But remember as well that sound does travel slower than light. So when you hear the stumps being hit by the ball, it could be a fraction of a second later than when it actually did happen. So wherever possible, yes, focus on the popping crease, but also try and use your peripheral vision to see the breaking of the stumps by the ball or the hands of the wicketkeeper or the bowler. Whatever you do, don't guess that the batter is short of his or her ground. If you are not sure, then not out. And quite often, when it is a non-televised game and I have to give tight decisions and I tell the fielding side it was too tight to call with the naked eye, they do accept that as a reason for not giving the batter out, run out. But if the batter is a meter short and you say it's too tight not to give with the naked eye, the fielding side is not going to buy that excuse. So get your process. Some umpires like to crouch just before making the decision, but if you're comfortable standing up straight, that's fine. Just make sure that you are focusing on the popping crease. Some umpires do focus on the bat because they want to see that the bat has made its ground before the wicket is fairly broken. I used to do that until one day the batter's bat got stuck in the ground and before the popping crease, and then after that I completely panicked. I blanked. And I didn't know whether the foot landed inside the popping crease before the wicket was fairly put down or not, because my focus was on the bat that was stranded outside of the popping crease. Up to you which method you want to use. Do whatever feels comfortable for you. But as far as possible, make sure that you are standing still, but also it makes sense that your focus should be on the only still object in the picture. Right, so I'm going to continue playing the video and they're going to take us through the answers. And what I will do is I will just pause a little bit after each answer. They're not going to replay the video, but sometimes he goes through it very quickly. So then it's difficult to mark your work if you're trying to mark all 18 clips. So I will give it about 5 seconds in between each clip for you to mark yourself. And there is also a very good explanation in terms of what you've got right and what you haven't got right, how to maybe improve your decision making on runouts. So keep watching for the training aspect of this particular training video.
Okay, before we look at how accurate you were, I'd like to explain some of the perceptual challenges that make this particularly difficult for us. These clips have been produced as part of a scientific study to investigate something called the flash lag effect. The flash lag effect occurs when we are briefly exposed to a stationary target alongside a moving target. And what seems to happen is that we see the moving target ahead of its actual position. If you watch the moving bar, where is it in relation to the stationary bars when they appear? Lab-based studies show that most people will see the moving bar marginally ahead of its actual position. This perceptual delay has been measured, and in these studies, it's found to be equivalent to about 45 milliseconds. Now, if you're not sure quite what that equates to, it's probably the time it takes a batsman to run about 2 or 3 feet. So clearly, this delay could have a big impact upon your accuracy. Now, don't forget, 45 milliseconds is the average. So it's important you look at your own individual results to see the extent to which any bias may affect you, as not everyone experiences this in the same way. Now for the results. You'll want to make a note of the correct answers so that later we can calculate how much the flash lag influences you. So, clip 1 was not out, and the correct frame was 6.
Clip 1 was not out. Well done, Mohammed Shakur. And the correct frame was frame number 6. I didn't write down any of the answers. I couldn't find my pen just before the lecture, but I hope you are all marking your answers. And so far, we've got one decision correct, if I remember correctly. Abdullah, did you write down the answers by any chance?
No, Tom.
Okay, no problem. I'm sure the candidates did for themselves.
Clip 2 was out, and the correct frame was 4.
Clip 2 was out, and the correct frame was 4. Clip 2 out, frame 4.
Clip 3 was out, and the correct frame was 5.
Clip 3 was out, frame number 5.
Clip 4 not out, and the correct frame was 8.
Clip 4 was not out, frame number 8. Not out, frame 8.
Clip 5 was out, and the correct frame was 3.
Clip 5 out, frame 3. Out, frame 3.
Clip 6 not out, and the correct frame 7.
Clip 6 not out, frame 7. Clip 6 not out, frame 7.
Clip 7 was out, and the correct frame was 4. Clip 8.
7 was out, frame 4. Out, frame 4.
Not out, and the correct frame was 6.
Clip 8, not out, frame 6. Clip 8, not out, frame 6.
9, not out, and the correct frame was 8.
Clip 9, not out, frame 8. Clip 9, not out, frame 8.
10, out, and the correct frame was 5.
Clip 10, out, frame 5. Clip 10, out, frame 5.
Clip 11, not out, and the correct frame was 7.
Clip 11, not out, frame 7. Clip 11, not out, frame 7.
Clip 12 was out, and the correct frame was 3.
Clip 12, out, frame 3. Clip 12, out, frame 3.
Clip 13 was not out, and the correct frame was 7.
Clip 13, not out, frame 7. Clip 13, not out, frame 7.
Clip 14 was out, and the correct frame was 5.
Clip 14, out, frame 5. Lots of frame 5s. Clip 14, out, frame 5. All very tight. Frame 4 and frame 5, obviously the two, sorry, frame 5 and frame 6 are the two tightest decisions.
Clip 15 was out, and the correct frame was 4.
Clip 15, out, frame 4. Clip 15, out, frame 4.
Clip 16, not out. The answer was 8.
Clip 16, not out, frame 8. Clip 16, not out, frame 8. Please all mute your microphones. Thank you.
Clip 17, not out. The answer, 6.
Clip 17, not out, frame 6. Another tight one. Clip 17, not out, frame 6.
Clip 18 was out, and the correct frame was 3. Now,
Clip 18, not, out and frame 3. Clip 18, out, frame 3. Let's listen to the rest of the study and what it means for you and your run-out decision making.
was 3. Now, to calculate exactly how you did, firstly add up how many correct decisions you made out of 18. Then, to calculate your personal flash lag effect, open the run-out response sheet and place an X in the column of the frame that you chose and an O in the column of the correct answer. Now, have a scan over the response sheet and look at the trend in your decisions. Do you have a tendency to see the batsman ahead of his actual position? The X is higher than the O? Or do you generally see the batsman as behind his actual position? If there's a general trend, then maybe you can work on this by adjusting your run-out timing accordingly. Perhaps have another go at the clips in a few weeks' time.
Thank you to the EC officials for this clip. Very useful training material, and I will put the link of this video on the email tomorrow with the link of the recording of tonight's lecture. Before we go into our question and answer session, I'm going to go back to our quiz questions and I'm going to take you through those, and then we will open the floor up to questions and answers. So the first quiz question was quiz question 37, which had to do with a obstructing the field appeal. And I'm going to play it with the volume off and talk you through it. Mark Wood bowling to Matthew Wade, who mistimes a pull shot up in the air. Ball is coming down. Mark Wood wanted to take the catch. Matthew Wade realizes that his partner is not running, so he runs back, but then he also puts his arm out as if to hand off Mark Wood in a rugby match. If you have a look at Matthew Wade, he looks to see exactly where Mark Wood is and makes sure by putting his arm out that Mark Wood cannot get to catch the ball. So that is a deliberate or a willful obstruction, and on appeal, the correct decision would be out obstructing the field. Incidentally, in that incident, England did not appeal, or if one of the players appealed, then the captain of the fielding side, the wicket keeper, his name eludes me now, he withdrew the appeal. So that is why we don't see a decision made in that particular incident. The England captain either opted not to appeal, or if there was an appeal, he withdrew the appeal. If there was an appeal and the captain did not withdraw the appeal, then the correct decision there would be out obstructing the field for Matthew Wade getting in the way, deliberately getting in the way of Mark Wood, preventing him from taking the catch. Next quiz question was the run out of a batter who was in his crease, but then left his crease. Why did he leave the crease? This is what we need to decide as the adjudicating umpires. Let's watch the video.
Again, there he is walking down the pitch.
Lack of pace off the pitch has made sure it's quite possible. The on-field umpire has gone upstairs to check
TV umpire,
run out.
turn. We have a referral for run out.
Woodclash Pipes, umpire partners.
Be the best side on, please.
Seems to be a bit of conversation going on between.
I can find no part of the bat or person of the batter behind the line. When the wicket is put down, I'm ready with my decision for the big screen.
This is where the spirit of cricket will come into play. Unfortunately, Abhishek Bora was well behind the crease, and the wicketkeeper did not see him where, pushed him across.
Very well described there by the commentator. The wicketkeeper didn't see the batter. The wicketkeeper himself was trying to avoid injury because he could see that the ball was likely to hit the stumps. And of course, when the ball hits the stumps, it can ricochet in any direction. So the wicketkeeper took a few paces back, and in doing so, stood on the batter. The batter then decided to avoid the injury of being stood on by the wicketkeeper, left his ground. You can see here he was initially in his ground, and he has left his ground to avoid injury. I'm sure if we played soccer or rugby before and been trod on by somebody wearing boots or spikes, we all know how painful that is. So the batter rightfully moved out of his ground to avoid injury. And as Abdullah taught us earlier in the lecture, if a batter has been within his ground and subsequently left it to avoid injury, when the wicket was fairly put down, then the striker will be, or the batter will be not out, run out. So the correct decision for quiz question 38 this evening, not out. Okay. Incidentally, in this particular match, the TV umpire gave the poor batter out, run out, but the fielding captain, who was the bowler, actually withdrew the appeal and called the batter back. So the spirit of cricket, as the commentator said, prevailed in that particular scenario. Last quiz question for the evening was a very cheeky attempt at a stumping by this wicketkeeper. We can see that he clearly catches the ball, turns around. The only reason he's turning around is to make the striker believe that he had missed the ball and he was now trying to find where the ball had rolled to. So that is a clear and obvious deception which the batter fell for. And Abdullah took us through the punishment for deliberate deception of a batter. Long list of punishments, well deserved. It is cheating. So you need to know exactly what it is that the umpires need to do in a scenario where there is deliberate obstruction, deception, or distraction of either batter. Call and signal dead ball, award 5 penalty runs. The run in progress, whether they've crossed or not, will count. Batters to decide who faces the next delivery. The ball does not count as a legal delivery in the over and needs to be rebowled. And inform everybody and report the matter to the governing body at the end of the match. So thank you to all of you who participated in the quiz questions, and also to everyone who participated in the run-out quiz. I did notice that we had some quiz questions while Abdullah was presenting, so let us go into the chat box to read through those. Muhammad Shakur asks, how can the batter be out from a no ball? The no ball occurred first. Muhammad, Abdullah explained to us in previous lectures, there are only 3 ways that a batter can be out of a no ball. It is a run out, it is hit the ball twice, and it is obstructing the field. Now, I think Mohammed asked this question while Abdullah was talking about being out obstructing the field of a no ball. So the scenario that Abdullah gave us was a striker hitting the ball up in the air and obstructing the fielder or the wicketkeeper by preventing the catch from being taken. There are other ways that a batter can be out obstructing the field. If they have completed the first run and on the second run they see that they're not going to make good their ground, the batter can change his running line and get into the way of the throw. And if the ball hits the batter who has changed his running direction, that will be given out obstructing the field. So, Mohammed, you can be given out obstructing the field of a no ball. It won't be for preventing a catch, but it would be, for example, if you are intercepting a run out, a throw that prevents a run out from occurring. I hope that answers your question, Mohammed. If
Yes,
not,
Tom. Thank you.
Great
Yeah,
stuff.
the reason why I put up this question, I know you could out no ball, obstructing the field, hit ball twice and run out. However, you said the correct thing, when Abdullah was presenting that, then that's why I put up this slide. Over.
Thanks, Mohammed. Next question is from Shiva. If it's a no ball, why would a batter want to protect his or her wicket, even if it's a wicket keeper's catch or is getting bowled? Shiva, what quite often happens is a batter would just naturally want to protect his or her stumps because it's an instinctive reaction when you see the ball is heading towards your stumps just to try and hit the ball away or kick the ball away. Yes, he or she might have heard the call of no ball, but maybe it hasn't registered in his or her head that I cannot be out bowled, I cannot be out stumped, I cannot be out caught of a no ball, so I can just leave the ball and let it hit the stumps. If you've ever been in a position where the ball was trickling towards your stumps, Shiva, I'm sure instinctively you would also just want to hit the ball away, whether it's trickling or whether it's flown up in the air and is about to land on the stumps. Whether or not no ball has been called, instinctively as a striker, you want to get that ball away from the stumps. I see a hand up from Vic. Vic, we will come to all the hands in the meeting room after we've gone through all the questions and comments in the chat box. Right, moving on, we've got a scenario posted by our national first class umpire colleague Mazizi Gampu. His scenario is as follows. The bowler bowls a legitimate delivery. The striker plays and misses the ball. The ball ends up just behind the wicketkeeper and the striker starts running. The non-striker hasn't left his or her ground and sends the striker back. The wicketkeeper picks the ball up, throws it and breaks the wicket at the striker's end with the striker short of his ground. Abdullah, how is the striker out in that scenario? Is the striker out run out or is the striker out stumped? And please explain to the candidates why it is the one and not the other.
Tom, the key information in this scenario is the striker attempted a run. Striker wanted to run, and then the non-striker sent the striker back. So now because of this attempting a run, now the run-out law gets activated. And that's why in this scenario, striker needs to be given out a run-out because of this attempt of a run. Over, Tom.
Perfect. Thanks, Dula. Dickie Carsten says sweat is allowed on the ball. Yes, but must the sweat be polished after it's been applied to the ball or before the ball coming into play for the next delivery? Or, Abdullah, can you just apply the sweat to the ball and just leave it as is on the ball? Does law guide us on this particular point?
So, Dickie, the law allows the ball to be polished, and the law allows the only substance to be used is sweat to be put on the ball. So if you are going to apply sweat to the ball, you need to do the following. You apply a bit of sweat, and then you need to polish the ball. You cannot just be applying sweat and leave the ball as is. That is what is called loading the ball, and some players do try it. They do try to get a bit of reverse swing. They try to make the one side of the ball heavier than the other side, and they'll apply sweat to one side of the ball to get it heavier so that it can reverse. So yes, we allow sweat, and it usually happens. Let's say the ball gets bowled, goes through to the keeper. Keeper then passes it to first slip. And usually many teams have a designated signer or one or two signers. They'll get it to that particular fielder. let's say the fielder standing at mid-off, the middle fielder will then get the ball, will apply a bit of sweat, will then start polishing the ball on their clothing, and after polishing it, will then pass it to the bowler. So that is how usually it gets done. It gets done before the bowler bowls the next delivery by usually the designated signer. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Tula. A couple of comments from Bandile. Today, for the first time, he witnessed an umpire measuring the bat of a batter as the batter was walking into bat. So Bandila, yes, the umpires across professional cricket leagues do have bat gauges, and those are to check that batters are using bats that are fitting through the bat gauge. And if the bat does not fit through the bat gauge, we do not confiscate a batter's bat. It belongs to him or her. All we do is we mark that bat with an X on the edge of the bat, and we tell the batter that they cannot use that bat. So every time a batter comes in to bat, if we are not going to measure their bat there and then, we're going to just check that it does not have an X on the edge of the bat, because if there is an X, it means that that bat has failed the bat gauge test. It is used in England in most of their competitions when a new batter comes in, that they check that the bat goes through a bat gauge. In South Africa, what we do is in the warm-ups, before the batters actually start the game, a lot of batters like to do what's called shadow batting behind the stumps, just to get their eye in. So they'll come out in their warm-up kit, and they'll have their gloves on, and they'll have their bat, and they will just practice a few strokes with that bat. The fourth umpire will have a batting gauge with them, a bat gauge with them, and they will ask the batter to hand over their bat, and we'll do a quick check of the bat, and we will write down that yes, Faf du Plessis, he uses a XL bat, and it went through the bat gauge, and he's got a private sponsorship on the back, and we will check that that private sponsorship is approved by Cricket South Africa. And if it's on the list, then we will allow him to use the bat. If that private sponsorship is not approved, we will not allow him to use the bat. So different countries, they do the bat checks at different stages of the game. Of course, we don't check everyone in South Africa. It's more of a random check. Bandile also says that keepers always distract the batters, and he has never seen anyone punishing wicket keepers for their constant distraction of batters. Bandile, it's quite a tricky one, because the keepers are quite clever. What they do is they will speak to their fielders, or at least they will pretend that they're speaking to their fielders. Yes, they're saying it loud enough for the batters to hear, and their intention is probably for the batters to think that it is the batting partner who said, yes, yes, let's run for another run. And in fact, it was the wicket keeper who said, yes, yes. So the punishment is very harsh, as you've seen, for deliberate distraction of batters. So before we punish wicket keepers for deliberate distraction, we need to be 100% sure. We need to have proof, and we need to have conclusive evidence that they were not speaking to anyone else but the batters when they said what they wanted to say. Unless we have conclusive evidence, then we cannot punish the wicket keepers. What we can do is have a quiet word with them and say, keeper, I know what you're doing. It's not right. The punishment is harsh. Don't do it again. Next question is from Sizon Mube. What if the ball crosses the boundary after the offense of a fielder tripping the batter? Then for verbal obstruction, can it be applied for attempted obstruction? Fielders can say 2, 2, 2, but the batter only run 1 and are safe within their ground and are not actually deceived by the call. So Abdullah, let's take one scenario at a time here. Cizo's first scenario is, what if the ball crosses the boundary after the fielder has tripped a batter? Do we still punish the fielder? And if so, how many runs in total will be awarded to the batting side?
So, Cizo, if there was a willful, deliberate attempt by any of the fielder to obstruct the batter, like in your example, let's say the bowler willfully tripped the let's say the striker, the ball becomes dead as soon as that trip happens. So as soon as the fielder trips the batter, that's when the ball becomes dead. So as soon as the ball becomes dead, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. And that's why in your scenario, yes, the ball eventually went for boundary 4. According to the law, the ball became dead when that trip happened. Anything that happens after that, irrelevant. That's why the boundary will not count. But you saw the punishment. The batting side will get 5 penalty runs. They will get runs completed, will be added to their score. They will get the run that was in progress, whether they crossed or not, will also be added to the score. So in the scenario where on the second run, the striker was deliberately tripped by the bowler, in total, the batting side will get 7 runs. 5 penalty runs, the 1 run that was completed, and also the 1 run that they were busy with. The second one, yes, they didn't cross, but the law tells us that one also to count. So in total, they'll get 7 runs. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Cizo's second scenario, if there is a verbal distraction by a fielder, what is the punishment, and will it always be applied even if the batters are not distracted? Say, for example, when a first run is completed, a fielder shouts 2, 2, 2, and the fielder wants the batters to turn for a second run and then run the batters out, but the batters are safely within their ground after the first run and choose not to turn for the second. So in that scenario, there was an attempted distraction or deception, but the batters were not deceived. How would we apply the law if we apply the law in that scenario, Abdullah?
In that scenario, Tom, I will not apply the law. Batters were not distracted, but I will definitely have a word with the fielder, and I will tell the fielder. And if, in my opinion, the fielder was willfully trying to distract or deceive the batters, so I will go have a quiet word. I will tell the fielder, I heard what you're saying. You were trying to deceive the batters by calling for that second. There's harsh punishment for this deception. The punishment is 5 penalty runs. I'll explain the punishment, and we will also report you for this. So please don't do it. Over, Tom.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. Scrolling through the chat box, I see most of you got the Matthew Wade obstructing the field bang on. He was definitely willfully obstructing Mark Wood there. So that would be out obstructing the field. Most, if not all of you got that one right. The next one was the run out scenario. Definitely not out because the batter was within his ground and left to avoid injury. And then question 41. It looks like you are all punishing the wicketkeeper for what he thought was very clever, but the law actually says that was very naughty and he shall be punished accordingly. Right. So apologies to all of you where the videos were lagging. It lags for some, it's fine for others. We will, as mentioned, be sending the link for the run out video to all of you. So you can watch it in your own time with better signal quality. But again, thank you for all of you who did participate. Abdullah, there's a question from Mohammed Shakur. What is the difference between a reverse hit and a sweep shot? I think maybe let's go for reverse sweep and a switch hit. And in terms of LBW, is there a difference in judging those two? And in terms of leg side wides, is there a difference between judging those two? Looks like we are already opening the floor up for questions not related to tonight's content. That's fine. We will do so as well for lecture number 6. Abdullah, difference between reverse sweep and a switch hit, please.
So Mohammed, let me start by sweep shot. You know, you can just visualizing it a sweep, and I'm visualizing a right-hand batter going on their knees and let's say sweeping the ball on their knees, sweeping the ball to the square leg boundary. With the reverse sweep, all they do is they staying a right-hand batter. Let's say they go on their knees, but they switch their hands. So instead of hitting the ball to the square leg boundary, they now try to hit the ball to, let's say, the third man or cover boundary. So that's why it's called a reverse sweep. It's not the conventional sweep for a right-handed batter that goes to the square leg boundary or fine leg boundary or mid-wicket. The reverse sweep where they switch their hands and it now goes the other side. For the right-handed batter, it now goes to the third man or cover or point boundary. Same principle would apply for a left-hander. So that is the difference between a conventional sweep shot and a reverse sweep shot in terms of the shot and the hands as well. When it comes to the reverse hit, this is now where the batter completely changed the style from let's use again a right-handed batter. So if you can visualize bowler running in, and it's now a right-handed batter facing. So the reverse shot is where they now totally switch around. So as the ball, let's say, is delivered, the batter is now not more a right-handed batter anymore. The batter totally switched and is now a left-handed batter. So so that is just the difference between the reverse sweep, where you just switch your hands, but you still stay in a normal position. But where you do the switch it is where you totally switch from a left-hander to a right-hander, or the other way, around. Tom, to answer your question about the LBW, so when it comes to the switch hit, where a batter switches from, let's say, originally as the bowler was running in, the batter was a right-handed batter. And just as the bowler is about to deliver the ball, The batter now reverse or switched and is now a left-handed batter. So when it comes to the LBW law, and when it comes to the leg side of the batter, you need to take into account the stance of the batter when that bowler take his or her first step. So the moment the ball comes into play, that is when you need to look at the batter and what type of batter it was. So looking at the pick, this was a left-handed batter. So when it comes to the LBW law, so the moment the bowler went into or started a run-up, it was a left-handed batter. So in terms of the leg side will stay the leg side. Even if the batter switches around and is now a right-handed batter, that leg side will stay the leg side. That's why in this video, yes, it was a right-handed batter, and but if you look at where the ball bounces now, yes, there you now see a right-handed batter, but according to the LBW law, leg side stays leg side, and that's why this ball pitched outside leg, because when the bowler started the run-up, the batter was left-handed batter, and that's why you'll see on pitching, DRS correctly indicates that this is pitching outside leg stump. In terms of the wide ball is the playing condition is different to the no ball. So when it comes to the wide ball, and this is now wide ball playing conditions for limited over cricket, whether it's T20 cricket or 50 over cricket. So what the playing condition states is, the moment you either attempt to reverse sweep or if you switch it, you create two offsides when it comes to the wide calling. So I'll repeat that. The playing condition for wide states, if there is an indication of reverse sweeping or switch hitting, the batter creates two offsides when it comes to your wide calling. Over, Tom.
Thanks very much, Abdullah.
Coach Tom.
Yes, Mohammed.
Sorry to interrupt quickly. So once again, Coach Abdullah, the switch, the reverse hit is technically the batter switch their hands right to left. That's all they're doing, right? Right, Tom? Coach Abdullah?
Yes, that's all they're doing, switching their hands.
Okay. And the sweep shot, they switch their hands, stay the same position. Does that make sense? The sweep shot, Coach Abdullah, that the batter switch hands, they stay at the same position also. That's the difference between switch hit and sweep shot, like you said.
A conventional sweep shot, there's no change of the grip and there's no change of the stance. The batter gets down on one knee and plays a shot towards the leg side. That's a conventional sweep shot. Happy, Mohammed?
Yes, it has nothing to do with the gloves. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Avuile wants us to remember Quinton de Kock deceiving Faka Zaman. It was a one-day international a few years ago. I'm going to play the video, and why was Quinton de Kock not given out for this piece of deception? I'll play it and then I will talk you through it.
Oh, he's clubbed it. He's clubbed it. They have to go for a second. Have to go. Oh, he's out. Oh, dear. He thought it was being thrown to the other end. Stop running. Can't believe it. What a way for this innings to end. He's played so well. Oh, man. is pointing the other end, saying, you get it, as if it's going that end. But the ball's coming towards him, and he's well aware it's coming too. And then look at him laugh as well and say, oh, I done him. I got him. Absolutely brilliant from Quinton de Kock.
Right, I'll play it again with the volume off while I talk you through it. Abuile. Very good question. And on the Make the Call series that we've got on YouTube, it is probably the scenario that had the most split answers in terms of out or not out. So for those of you who haven't seen it before and are wondering what it's all about, Fakhar Zaman hits down to wide long off, comes back for the second, and Quinton de Kock, you might have heard, said bowler, bowler. And so because of Quinton de Kock saying bowler, bowler, Fakhar Zaman assumed that the throw was going to the bowler's end and he was not in any threat of being run out at the striker's end. Remember what I said earlier to you. The punishment for deliberate deception, obstruction, or distraction of a batter by a fielder is very harsh. We need to be 100% correct that the wicketkeeper was talking only to the batter. Now, there is no ways that we can prove that Quinton de Kock was talking to the batter. Even though, knowing Quinny, he's a sneaky little cricketer, he was probably deliberately deceiving Fakhar Zaman, but we do not have any proof that he was not talking to Lungingidi. No proof that he wasn't talking to Aiden Markram, who made the throw. And also, if you think about the on-field umpires at the time, they are looking at their popping creases. They are not looking at the wicketkeeper. They are not looking at the batter. With potentially 30,000 people in the crowd at a packed Wanderers stadium. Abdullah has done a SA20 game where it was a full house. You cannot hear anything in the Wanderers when it is full. I believe this game might have been played during lockdown restrictions during COVID. So maybe it wasn't full, maybe it wasn't that loud. But the focus of the umpires is not on what the wicketkeeper is saying. The focus on the umpires is on their creases to make sure that they see if the batters have made good their ground or not when the wicket is really put down. So, Avuile, I believe it was a deliberate deception by Quinton de Kock, but there is not enough evidence that is clear and obvious that it was Quinton de Kock speaking only to the batter. And that is why the on-field umpires didn't go upstairs. Fakhar Zaman also walked off himself. He didn't wait and ask the umpires, did you not hear that piece of deception? He probably felt sheepish because he knew he had been deceived. But again, could he prove that Quinton de Kock was not speaking to the fielder? So that is why Avuile, it was given out, run out. Difficult decision, but it can be correct either way according to law and interpretation of the law. Abdullah, is sweat from any part of the body allowed to be applied on the match ball?
Yes, any part of the body. And I've seen bowlers go lots of places to get some sweat. I've seen under the arm. I've seen their backs. So yeah, any part of the body.
Great. Thanks, Dula. We've reached the end of the questions and comments in the chat box. We shall now go to the hands that have been up in the meeting room for quite a while. Shiva, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, so regarding loading the ball, I know Abdullah mentioned that you're not supposed to load the ball and shine it, but what prevents the bowler from switching the side where he puts the sweat on one side and shines the other?
Abdullah, did you hear the question from Shiva?
Yes, I heard. Siva, you need to watch the bowlers. They love loading the ball. And the reason, why the law allows a bit of sweat, because the law allows for polishing of the ball. So if you put a bit of sweat there, you need to polish that particular section. That's why we as umpires need to do regular inspections of the ball, because what they will try is they will try to load. They will put sweat on one side and not sign it, because to get that other side heavier, inspect that ball. If you do see any loading, you need to address it. You need to tell the fielding captain, I can see you busy loading the ball. It's not allowed. Please do not load the ball. Yes, the law allows for some sweat to be put on, but you need to polish. After putting on that sweat, you need to polish it. Don't load the ball. Over, Tom.
So follow-up question. Thank you, Abdullah. So follow-up question is, how do you know if you haven't seen the loading, but by regular inspection, how do you know that one side is heavier than the other?
You can visually see it, the wetness. You can visually see it's darker in color when side starts to load the ball to get the reverse swing going. So you see the wetness. You see it's the one side. It's so much darker than the other side. So it is visual, Siva.
Got it. Thank you. But that's for the red ball, I believe.
Yes.
Next up is Sharon. Sharon, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Abdullah. Mine is a scenario. I just want to know how me and other people can go about it as umpire. So the striker plays the ball, plays defensively, and then immediately gets that ball and wants to return it back to the bowler. And then the other one is he plays it and it goes like just half a centimeter away. Then the non-striker is thinking they could probably take a run, but is moving towards the ball and wants to again return it to the bowler. How do you go about that? How do I go about that? Anyway, me and other people.
Abdullah, do you want to take that one?
Yes, Tom, I heard the first one. If you can just repeat the second one to me. Let me answer the first question first, about batters hitting the ball back to the bowler or the fielder. So, according to the law, Sharon, you are not allowed to return the ball to any fielder, including the bowler or any of the 11 fielders, without their permission. So while the ball is still in play, you're not allowed to return it to them. So you're not allowed to hit the ball back to the bowler without their permission. That is, according to the law, if you do return it on appeal, you can be given out obstructing the field. That is as per the law. It's not something that, especially at higher level cricket, you often see players hit the ball back to the bowler, or the striker hits it to spinner bowling blocks the ball in front of him, now the striker, and then hits it to the short leg fielder, who in turn throws it to the bowler. So at higher level cricket, they not so pedantic about it. In lower level cricket, you'll often find lots of appeals, but according to the law, you are not allowed to return that ball to any fielder without their permission. And if you do hit it back to the bowler without their permission, on appeal, you can be given out obstructing the field. I often whisper in batters' ears if I do see it. Um, don't hit the ball back to the fielders. There are 11 fielders on the field. Let them pick up the ball. Yes, I know you maybe want to be a nice guy and return it to them, but don't. Sometimes in the beginning of the game, they'll overlook it. They won't appeal. But if the game gets tight, the result is on the line, you could easily get the fielding side. What they let go in the morning or early in the game, batter hitting it back to the bowler, they will now appeal when the result is on the line. So I often whisper to the batters, leave the ball. There's 11 fielders. Let them pick up the ball, because the law tells us if you do return the ball to any of the fielders while still in play on appeal, you can be given out obstructing the field. Over, Tom. That's answering the first question. What was the second one?
Sharon, please repeat your second scenario for us.
The first scenario is which Abdullah has answered. Immediately, the player played a defensive shot and then immediately picked the ball and gave it back to the bowler. The second one was I played the ball and it didn't go far, just like half a meter, and he's going to get the ball still, touching the ball and giving it to the bowler, yet the non-striker thinks they could take a run. So could still be the same. Probably no getting the ball and giving it back to the fielder, not touching the ball, just like you've explained.
Yes, yes, Aaron, the same principle would apply. While that ball is still alive, either of the batters should not be touching that ball. They should leave the ball. There are 11 fielders. Yes, sometimes batters want to be nice guys or girls, but whisper in the ear, if they do it, don't do it. Let the fielders pick it up, because you might find one game they'll allow it. You'll get to a next game, and you'll find a very competitive captain who appeals for that. And as I said to you, technically, as per the law, while that ball is still in play, you cannot return the ball to any fielder without their permission. Yes, if they gave you permission, yes, you can pick up the ball and hand it to me, no issue. That is allowed as per the law. But if there's no permission, yeah, they're not allowed to. So do manage it. If you do see it, whisper in the batter's ears, don't pick it up. Let the fielders do their job. There are 11 of them. Over, Tom.
Thank you so much, Abdullah and Tom.
Welcome,
that
Sharon.
was good. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Sharon. Always good to get questions from the Pearl of Africa. Next hand up is Mohammed Shakur from the Sydney that never sleeps, New York. Please unmute your microphone, Mohammed. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. Coach Abdullah, question. I have a similar scenario where my colleague just explained. However, the batter plays at the ball. I was the striker and umpire. The captain field next to me also as well. But he bent, he tried to pick the ball, but then he raised back. Then he asked the keeper. The keeper tell him it's okay, you could pick up the ball. However, this was a very close match. One of the fielder in the deep appealed loud. So I go to my colleague and I explain to him, same thing what I told you. He asked the keeper, and the wicketkeeper said, "Oh, it's okay, you can pick up the ball." And he still start carry on. The captain have to calm him down and explain to him. And it's like you said, a situation like this is very critical, because the match is a very close match, And the guy, like in a way, he still not believe me and my colleague. And then the captain had to go talk to him. He really carry on the field, but no indecent language or so. And then I have to tell the captain, me and my colleague, we give him, first and final warning. Over. Thank you.
So Abdullah, in Sharon's better for holding the ball or passing the ball back. With Mohammed's scenario, the wicketkeeper gave permission to the batter to pass the ball back, but then one of the boundary fielders appealed for obstructing the field. So what do we decide in that scenario?
The law allows for the ball to be returned to any of the fielders by either of the batters if there is permission by any of the fielders. In Mohammed's scenario, there were clear permission was given by the keeper. So that is then allowed. That appeal for obstructing by the boundary fielder should have just said not out. Keeper gave permission to the batter. So not out, obstructing the field, play on. Over, Tom.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you to each and every one of you who has contributed. Saranga has asked if we can go through a scenario on YouTube. Let us use that as our last play for the day. So this is Kumar Sangakkara back in his prime. Let's see what he does to the Pakistani batters.
But it's so good for Pakistan. Played inside out once again, clearing that infield, coming back for a second, and will complete that eventually. Misbah there, trying and pushing Amar Shahzad for the second run, and brilliant running in the end.
Well, it was very cheeky from Kumar Sangakkara, pretending he had the ball coming a lot earlier. Stops, admires the shot, turns, he wants to, knows his two, and he's not looking, and then look. Ah, Sang is your old dog. He made Shahzad dive. Thought he was getting it in early. And foxed him, made Shahzad dive.
So Abdullah, a clear bit of deception there by Kumar Sangakkara. But are we going to apply the penalty for deliberate deception of a batter in that scenario where no run out resulted?
No,
or
Tom.
are we going
No,
to laugh at the
Yeah,
batter?
we're just gonna have a giggle. No harm done. We're not going to activate law 41.5. We can have a bit of a inward giggle like the rest of the fielders had. So yeah, no, I will not activate law 41.5. Over.
I agree with you, Abdullah. I think even the batters' teammates on the balcony or in the dugout would have had a good laugh at him there. Definitely, we shouldn't take the fun out of the game as umpires. We obviously don't encourage unfair play, and where we need to intervene, we will intervene. But where there hasn't been a disadvantage to any team, then we will not activate Law 41. I hope that answers that scenario for you, Saranga. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you once again for your attendance and your interaction. It's been our longest lecture of this particular course so far, and I hope you all enjoyed it, including the run-out simulation quiz. I will send the link to that particular video on YouTube so you can practice yourselves tomorrow when I send the link for the recording of this lecture. So we will convene once again next week, Tuesday, the 22nd of April. Remember that Monday, the 21st of April, is Easter Monday, so we will not be having a lecture on Monday. We will be having our 6th and final lecture on Tuesday, the 22nd of April. It will be a revision lecture where Abdullah will take us through some revision questions, and then I will take you through a click-by-click demonstration of how to register and do the minimum systems requirement check for your online exam, as well as the identification, authentication, and how you start answering your specific level 2 exam. So join us next week, Tuesday, the 22nd of April, same time, same place, same meeting link. Have a good day further. Thank you and goodbye.